making a decision to hold, buy, or sell an investment. This chart indicates that the price for this stock has declined from $109 to just over $100 a share. In this situation, you should research the investment to determine why the stock's price is declining. With current information, it is possible to make an informed decision to hold, buy, or sell the investment.
One of the things we talked about on Monday was being able to determine why we want to invest. Why do we want to invest? What are our goals? Well, at the same time, in order to achieve those goals, you have to monitor your investment over a period of time. Kind of in some respects, what you're doing in your portfolio. You're monitoring that growth or decline, for most of us, over a particular period of time. So what we need to do is, as far as investing is concerned, is not only have the goals of investing, but at the same time, what do we plan on, or how do we plan on monitoring that investment? Are we going to pay somebody, a manager, an investment manager, to watch over that investment? Or are we going to do it ourselves when it comes to individual purchases or individual decision making? If we're in a 401k, somebody will do that for us. Naturally, we have to pay for it. But if we want to do it like our portfolio or do a specific other types of things, you have to be able to monitor the investment and make sure it's providing the goal that you require. And that's an important facet of this. You're going to have a question on your examination this week that's going to ask you about those investment ideas, investment goals, but also how you will monitor it, how you are going to make sure you're doing fine. Are you matching your goals as the real activity goes forward into time? So monitoring an investment is just as important as selecting the investment goals. An example of that is right here. Ta-da. Here's problem 2 in the end of chapter 11. I'm not concerned about whether you can calculate these numbers. Matter of fact, I really not don't care about that because mostly these are done in the real world automatically. But at the same time, if I decide to have an investment where I put in $2,000 and I'm just anticipating a rate of return of 2% up to 11%, those are the 3 things are in my investment goals. How much am I going to invest? What's the anticipated return off that investment? And how many years am I going to plan on making that investment before I get to the goal or the payoff or the liquidity that I want to make? And this is problem 2 of your textbook. The calculations of how to do this is in the text or in that chapter. But the main thing about it is I want to concentrate on 3 things. It's part of the decision-making process of investing in a bond, investing into a stock, investing into a real estate. It's that how much you're going to invest and what is the anticipated return. Now, the anticipated return is going to be driven by the risk associated with that investment. The greater the risk, the greater the return. But at the same time, when you're wanting a greater return, are you able to deal with that risk? The risk of failure, the risk of the investment not doing what you thought it would be, what you thought you would do. So that rate of return is driven by the risk of what you're willing to accept as a return that meets your goal, but at the same time meets your risk parameters. And then how long are you going to put the investment out? That's a big deal. How long are you going to put that investment out to determine where you're going to get to your investment value at the end of the period and how much you're going to gain from that investment? Here's an example of the answers in that question number 2. If I decide to invest $2,000 at 2% over 10 years, I'm going to be making about $1,900. But if I decide to invest $2,000 for 30 years and earn 11% a year, I can make $338,000. Quite a big difference between the same amount of the investment and the return of $338 to $1,900. Why is that? The length of time and the percentage return. Naturally, this is probably in a high risk venture over 30 years. What could be a high risk venture of over 30 years? It could be Amazon. It could be Apple. Yes, they make a lot of money and they have a high return of growth, but are they going to maintain that growth over the 30 years? That's the risk. Can they maintain that growth? And that's a tall order. At the same time, if I invest in a low risk, like a government security, a savings account, a CD, a money market fund, whatever, which a low return, but I'm pretty well know that that's going to be met over the 10 years, but naturally I'm not going to be making that much money. What we want to do in our investment goals is try to find a happy medium between that 2% level and that 11% level. What is a satisfactory return to give us at least a pretty good return on our investment, but at the same time avoid the risk? And naturally, how much time? Notice I can invest in a vehicle that's going to pay me 4% over 30 years. I can generate $52,000. The question is, do I have 30 years to wait for that? That's one of the questions in your investment. Could somebody please turn off their microphone, please? Thank you very much. So the point of this problem is to show you that yes, I can invest and set a goal of a certain amount of money, but what is the chance or the risk of the return over a period of time, and how long is that period of time? These all drive what my ending value or return is going to be over that time period. So that's an important amount to determine. That's an important amount to drive my answer. And the same thing holds true in the next question. Question number 3. Assume that you're in a 28% tax bracket, which for most of us taking this class, for most of us going into the not too distant future, we're going to be in that general area of that tax, probably a little bit lower, 20, 22, 23, but in that 20s, that's going to be our tax bracket. And if you purchase a municipal bond, a 3.10 municipal bond. A municipal bond is investing in the city of Laverne. A municipal bond is investing in the state of California. And a municipal bond is investing in the county of Los Angeles. And they're going to produce and invest that money into new freeways, sewer systems. So that's a municipal bond. A municipal bond pays you interest on that 3.1% of your $1,000 investment, but it also pays you tax-free. That's the advantage of a municipal bond. And if you're in a 28% tax bracket, you're actually going to yield about 4.3% on that bond over the period of time. It's going to give you a 4.3% return on an interest of only 3.1%. They're going to pay you that check, but that income is tax-free. You do not have to pay tax on it. The same thing holds true if you're LeBron James and you start making a little bit more money and you become in the 35% tax bracket, which right now is pretty well the high end of the tax bracket. If you purchase a municipal bond, here's another example of a municipal bond. All of you have been in the new dining hall, the dormitory, Citrus. You all have seen that. We haven't seen it in a while, but you all have seen it. That dining hall was paid for partially by the University of Laverne issuing a municipal bond. A municipal bond was issued for the University of Laverne. They sold $1,000 bonds in the market. They were co-signed by the city of Laverne as match or guaranteeing the collateral of that bond. And that bond was issued. We accepted the money and we built the Citrus Dining Hall, which now sits vacant. But let's say that bond paid the bondholder 3.6%. In other words, $36 a year. On a $1,000 bond, you would get $36 a year interest, and that interest would be tax-free. You don't have to pay tax on it. You don't even have to report it on your state or federal return. You would be actually earning 5.5% of that bond because of the tax break you receive. So many times investment goals are going to the point of once you get to a certain tax bracket or tax level, income level, you're going to want to stash your cash. You're going to want to avoid taxes. Buying municipal bonds is one of the ways of doing it. Now, naturally, historically, those rates are rather low, but that's low rate is made up in the point of lower taxes. You don't have to pay tax on it. So that's an interesting thing about investment goals. Once you reach a certain tax liability area, you can take advantage of that by getting the tax breaks. The reason why Julio asked a question, do bond issuers like the University of Laverne, the state of California, General Motors, whoever who issue bonds, because interest paid to the bondholder is less than interest paid to a bank if the money was borrowed? Yes, exactly right. The reason why you get lower interest rates in the bond market is because you have collateral. And that collateral is spread out over a variety of different vehicles. Your company, the collateral of your company, any co-signers, any additional credit agencies who give you credit. A bank is a little bit more centralized. Your bank is going to lend you money and they're just going to watch out for their butt, nobody else. That's why sometimes the interest rates are a little higher. Also, in a bond issuance, you don't have to pay the money back right away. You just pay interest only. And the maturity of the bond is due in 10, 20, 30 years. With a bank loan, that is an amortized loan usually, where you have to pay interest and principal back at the same time. The advantage of a bond is you do not have to pay the maturity all at once. You have many years to do that. With bank financing, they want their money quicker because they have greater risk. That risk is more centralized to them, not spread out in the overall market. So that's a good question, Leo. Banks are more expensive because they have more specific risk requirements, reserves that they have to maintain, where in the market, by issuing bonds, that risk is spread out throughout the whole market and the issuer of that bond's collateral. Good question. So tax breaks, tax brackets place an influence on types of investment goals that you may have. There's a question on this in the examination this week. Another area of concern is, and we talked about this week, what is the definition of a bond? Question number 5 in your text says, 3 years ago, you purchased a corporate bond that pays 5.8%. The purchase price was $1,000. What is the annual dollar amount of interest that you receive from this bond? We talked about this on Monday. Remember, all bonds are issued in $1,000 lots. You can't go to the city, to your broker or to Charles Schwab or E-Trade and say, I want to buy a University of Laverne bond issue for $500. Can't do it. You got to buy it for $1,000. And if the interest rate or the coupon on the bond is 5.8%, that means your annual payment is 5.8% of 1,000 or 58 bucks. Every year you'll get $58. Now some bond issues split that into 2 periods every 6 months, so you just divide the $58 by 2 and you get your check on June 30th and December 31st. That's how bonds are paid. It's based on lots of $1,000. If you don't have $1,000 to buy a specific bond, you buy into a bond mutual fund, a fixed mutual fund that can invest in corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, and that you can get in that for $100. And then you pool your money with other investors and you share in the return of that money when the manager goes out and buys the $1,000 bonds in the market. So bonds are an interesting phenomenon because, as we talked about on Monday, bonds give you fixed income spread out over many periods, and you get your money back at the end of that period. Where next week we talk about stocks, it's a whole different animal. Stocks, you're taking a risk because you do not know what the payout will be. You do not know what the dividends are going to be, if there are any. You do not know about the performance of the company in the future. It's all based on the performance and the market supply and demand of that stock. Bonds, it's guaranteed. It's part of the issuance. It's an IOU. I owe you $1,000. I will pay you 5.8% every year, and I will pay that $1,000 back in 10 years. Strictly done on paper. It's an IOU. It's a legal obligation of the issuing entity. And that entity is backed up by the collateral, the assets of the company. So that's an important important thing to know. And we talked about that on Monday, the difference between stocks and bonds. So these questions are a couple of the definitions of investing, why we invest, why we have goals, how we monitor those investments. Do we track it ourselves, or do we pay somebody to give us performance reports every 6 months, every year, every quarter? And also, how are our goals going to meet the demand of our return? Do we want some tax-free income, like a municipal bond? Do we want big returns, so we invest in Amazon? Do we want growth, so we invest in a startup? All trying to match those investments with our investment goals. Trying to see if Mr. Boychuk is with us yet. He is not, so we'll just keep on going. Remember, Mr. Boychuk is here today to join us to talk a little bit about College of Business Career Services. Before we get to Mr. Boychuk, let me bring up this dazzling screen, which will make you guys all enjoy your day even more. I will be posting at 8:30 this morning to your Blackboard examination number 2. Examination number 2 is due Sunday evening at 9 o'clock, I believe. And you are to post this work to your file folder by Sunday night. And this is a series of questions from chapters 7-11, asking for you to define certain investment situations, insurance situations, and also asking you to define how this relates to your own personal goals, your own personal return. Now, coming out of college, we're going to have various obligations. We got to find a job. Thanks, Paul, for joining us. We'll get to you in a minute. You're going to have to find a job. You're going to have expenses to meet. You're going to have perhaps student loans. Some of you might go on to graduate school. Some of you might want to get married, move in, move out of the house. You're going to have different costs, different ways of living. Now you start setting money aside to reach those goals. I want to move away from home and get an apartment. I want to get a new car. Down the road, I want to get a house. What do I have to do now with the limited income that I have, or the great income I have, depending on the job or where your financial situation is? And where do you invest? We talked about this week in bonds, in insurance. We talked about next week in stocks. And the questions on this examination number 2 are asking you about those insurance and bond questions. How do they define what they look like, not only their definitions, but how they look like in regards to your own personal needs? All right? Where does this stand as far as you are doing going into the future? What do your auto insurance need? What if you decide to get rental insurance? How about financial planning? Are you going to be planning into the future, or are you just trying to just find a job and just be able to meet all your basic expenses? And then we're going to qualify this into this final question. What are your investment goals in relationship to the amount of money and what you're spending now in your spending diary that we're keeping track of? What do you think will be a good investment for you? How much risk are you willing to assume? Oh, I'm going to put all my money into windmills and solar development. Okay, none of those companies are making money now. So your goal is to make money over a longer period of time. Oh, my goal is to invest in Amazon. Well, do you have $2,000 to buy one share of stock in Amazon? I don't even have $2,000 to invest in stock in Amazon. So how are you going to do that? What is your timeline? Are you just trying to invest now just to put some money aside for liquidity? Should you lose your job, you have a backup plan of having cash in case something happens. And a lot of us, when we first graduate from college, we're starting at excuse me, Paul, for saying this, at the bottom of the barrel. And the companies lay us off first. Maybe we should spend or put aside some money into a savings account or into a money market fund or into an ETF or a mutual fund in case we do lose our job, we have a little bit of a coverage should that happen. Consider your economic circumstances. How does this relate to your portfolio that we're doing in class? Would this be a real world strategy, the portfolio that you all have selected? So these are the questions that are involved in examination number 2. There's also an extra credit question there for you. So all of these, please make sure, remember I said this before, I do not want one sentence answers. Oh, I'm going to invest in a savings account. Thank you. No, 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 no. Make sure you guys describe and explain the rationale behind these problems. Just don't give me one sentence answers. Be specific. You got plenty of time over the next few days to do it, to set this up, to answer the questions, and then have it fit into your class schedule and your plan and your schedule at home. Make sure you do that. But remember, the bottom line, and we've talked about this, Paul, maybe you shouldn't be hearing this, but I don't care, is that if you cannot meet the deadline for Sunday night, just let me know and you have extra time to post the work, okay? Don't let the pressure of your home workspace, the pressure of going through this quarantine, the pressure of taking other classes defer on your work for this class. If you need extra time, take extra time. It will not affect your grade at all. All I need is you to let me know via text or an email, Professor Hasse, can I post this on Monday? Professor Hasse, can I post this on Tuesday? All right, just let me know. That is no problem. I understand some of our workspace situations are limited. It's tough to sit down for a couple hours and work things out. You need to spread that out over some time periods. Please feel free to do that. All right. So again, this will be in the examination file folder at 8:30 this morning, and you can download it after class and prepare your work for due on Sunday. If you have any questions on that work, please let me know. This work represents 20% of your course grade. At the end of this examination, we'll have roughly 2/3 of the class completed for grades. And you can go to your grade center to see where you are, where you stand with your average. If you have any questions on that, you post your grade this weekend, you'll have your grades back by next Thursday to see how you're doing. So that's where we stand with that. Now let's welcome Mr. Boychuk. Paul is here as on his own time, and I appreciate that, to talk to us. Paul knows that this is a group of mainly seniors who are getting ready to go out into the real world with a variety of different situations, a variety of different expenses, a variety of different family situations. And they're, like any other Laverne student, are trying to figure out what the hell we do next. And I know some of us are working already, some of us are on furlough, some of us have great ideas for where we want to work, some of us are going to go into a family business. A lot of different ifs or ands, and I wanted Paul to come here today to talk about what his department is doing to help us and what he thinks is going on in the market with all this, and you can feel free to ask any questions as he proceeds. So Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Professor Hasse, and thank you for giving me some time here today to talk about career services. As you all know, these are very uncertain times. I'm in touch with employers on a regular basis, and you know, many employers have put a hold on positions. There are employers that are still moving forward with their hiring, looking to hire positions that are remote positions. But I think the most important thing for you as seniors is to be prepared for when things start to open up. When that's going to be, is that going to be in May? Is that going to be in June? Is that going to be in July? That's hard to predict. That's hard to know. But you want to be in a position where you're prepared for when things do open up. So what does that mean? Have a strong resume, have a strong cover letter, sharpen up your interviewing skills. And so we're available, and I'm available to help you with the full range of services that our department provides. I can assist you via Zoom. I can assist you with via email or phone, whichever you prefer. But you know, first and foremost is you want to put yourself in a position to be ready once things really start to open up. So if I have not reviewed your resume in a while, if I haven't seen your cover letter since Business 242, now's the time to do so. So make sure to Best way to contact me is to email me directly for any type of assistance. And I can assist you with all of those things.
Paul, one question while you're on that subject about assistance. Once somebody graduates and it's maybe a year, 2 years after graduation, can they still contact your office for guidance and assistance?
Absolutely. Career Services is a Leo's for Life service. So you can contact us at any time for help, whether you're looking to make a career change at some point or move up within the company that you're already working at. I can assist you with all of those things. I am seeing positions still posted, by the way, on CareerLink and Handshake. So don't assume that their companies are not hiring at all at this point. Certainly a lot of companies are on hold, but not all of them. So make sure to check CareerLink, make sure to check Handshake for opportunities. Some companies are gearing up and taking resumes now to start interviewing it as soon as possible, immediately, once things do start to open up.
Paul, what, if we can be specific, if you can be specific, once things start opening up, let's say in the fourth quarter of this year, or maybe in early 2021, that's my projection, but when things do start opening up, what industry should, these are all our students are business majors, business administration, most of them. We do have a couple of other majors in our class, but for that, where in business is this going to open up? Is it going to be the finance, insurance, banking industry? Is it going to be health, the sciences? Where do you think is, based on your experience, what do you think the jobs will be or the positions might be available?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think health and sciences sort of right now are good areas to be in, and moving forward. Health administration, if anybody has an interest in health administration, certainly that's a great long-term career choice. But at the same time, I always advise, get into an area that you enjoy, get into a sector, an industry that you enjoy. Don't select an industry to work in just because you think it's going to be booming. You still want to be in an area that plays to your strengths, that you enjoy working in. You'll go further in an area that you enjoy working in, as opposed to going into an area that's booming or doing well, but you don't enjoy.
One last question by me, and then I'll open it up to the group here is, Paul, is now a good time, since the job market is rather unsettled, to continue on with your education and get a graduate degree? Now, I preface that, you're probably not going to like this, but I've been preaching this for years. Don't borrow any more money to go and get a graduate degree. If you have sources and abilities to go on to graduate study, take advantage of that, but don't get yourself more under the barrel of debt. But would this be a good time to even take, for if you want to work in the banking industry, you want to work in retail, or you want to work in the food service industry or whatever, and now it's a pretty slow time for those industries and probably will be for quite a while, maybe it's time to take a couple of courses. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea with exactly the caveat that you mentioned, about finances and being able to pay for graduate school and not go into more debt. I completely agree with that. But yeah, if you have that opportunity, now is certainly a good time to do that. And that way get a master's, whether it's an MBA or a master's in finance, master's in leadership and management, what have you. Many people do go to school when the job market is when companies aren't hiring, because then once companies open things up and the economy opens up, then you'll have those added credentials to make you stand above from the competition.
One of the things about our class here with the individuals in this class, even though if you're looking at your screen, most of them look rather scary in this time of day, but one of the key things of the people in this class are three areas. We have people who are already working or have a lot of work experience. Two, we have a lot of athletes. Athletes are attractive to a lot of businesses because of the nature of them working in teams, the nature of them working independently, the nature of them being disciplined. Athletes are a good hire for a lot of companies. And the third group is we have a lot of people who have done a lot of community service, who have participated in helping others, who have participated in being assistants, mentors. Those three groups are very a perfect background of the people in this class. Athletes, people who are working, have work experience, have street smarts, I like to call it, and then also people who are great at community service. And I think if our students combine all those attributes, see, one of the thing about looking for a job is you tend to get down on yourself because, oh, I want to get a job, and they tell you, well, there's 700 people ahead of you who want this same position. Jeez. What you need to do is looking for a job, and you can talk about this, Paul, is you have to go after your own qualities that you do well, things that you do well. If you're an athlete, a lot of companies want to hire athletes because they know they have a certain type of work ethic, mindset. A lot of people want to hire people who work in community services because they're caring, they have good hearts, they care about they're loyal. A lot of people want to hire people with experience who've been around the block and who can adapt to changing circumstances like we have. So I think one of the key things about your career is, yes, you want to find a job that you can do well in, but at the same time, find a job that fits you as a person. With your every 25 students in this class have great qualities, and they need to expand on those qualities and use them. And I could go by each student in our class and say what they do well. And if you know that, that can help you immensely in the job market.
Yeah, I agree. And part of the key of finding a job is to be able to highlight those things on your resume, so that an employer can see that on your resume, on your cover letter, and then also when you get to the interview. So that's part of the process of when I assist you with your resume, when I assist you with the cover letter, is to really highlight your strengths so that an employer and employers can really quickly recognize those. You don't want to hide those or put them somewhere sort of further down in your resume or further down in your cover letter, where it's going to be hard for somebody to find those. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the process of working with career services. And then also, when you get to an interview, you want to really be able to make those points of, this is what I bring to the table. These are my strengths. And so I can assist you in terms of, how to really prepare for an interview, to be able to talk about your strengths and what value you can bring to a company.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any specific questions for Paul about your own situations or your own concerns?
My question is just, do you see this telecommunicating being the new normal moving forward? This online interviews, online, business, online telecommunicating, and online interviews moving forward.
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing that.
Ivan, why don't you ask your question again, a little bit louder?
Oh, do you see telecommunicating and online interviews being the new normal moving forward?
In terms of interviewing via Zoom or Skype or that, or actual jobs? Just
the way business is conducted now. Do you see that moving as a new normal moving forward?
I do see it moving more in that direction. It's hard to say to what extent it'll go fully there, but I think this experience now of a lot of people, almost everybody, working from home, will certainly move the needle in that direction. How much? Hard to say, but definitely more than it was before.
Thanks, Ivan. Anybody else? They're a little bit shy. This is a shy group, Paul. You got to understand that. But I have a question that while people are thinking, How about, where does social media play in all this, Paul? Using LinkedIn, using Instagram, whatever, to develop a network so people get to know your name, or you get to see what's going on, or trends. Is that an important quality to take under consideration for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. LinkedIn is so important now. And that's another thing that I can assist you with, helping you not just put together the strongest possible LinkedIn profile, but then how do you use LinkedIn, leverage LinkedIn to really build out your network and to put yourself in a position to find jobs and to advance your careers. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, but you feel it's not where you want it to be, or if you have a really good LinkedIn profile, but you're not sure how to use LinkedIn and how to utilize and join groups to really build out your network, please contact me directly. I'd love to help you with that. I think the big challenge for college students, seniors, is how do you build out a network of people who are not all your friends, right? Initially, when you're finishing up college, most of the people in your LinkedIn network are going to be your friends. For the most part, your friends can't help you at this point, right? They're looking for jobs too. They're looking for work too. Down the road, they'll be able to help you. But how do you connect with people who are mid-level? Let's say you're interested in finance, working in finance. How do you connect with people who are mid-level or senior level, manager level within finance on LinkedIn? I can show you how to do that. And that's really the key, because when you really utilize LinkedIn correctly, a lot of people end up finding jobs through LinkedIn, through their network, without ever going on Indeed or CareerLink or Handshake or any other job site. That's how powerful LinkedIn is, and it really makes it the best and most important site out there, because of the combination of the social or the networking aspect and then the job search.
I think that's very important. And also, I'm a preacher of this gospel, and a lot of my students already know about this, especially people like Danny and Carly and Justin, who've had me for quite a while, is that develop your network of coaches, faculty, alumni, people that are associated with you that you've come in contact during your 4 years here at Laverne, people who after you're gone, they're not going to forget you. They're going to want to keep helping you. And there's a lot of alumni, there's a lot of faculty, there's a lot of coaches who just don't want you to perform here while you're here and then say, well, forget you, you're done. No, these people want to stay with you throughout your early part and into your career. I know that was one of the leading factors of my developing my professional career, is I used faculty to help me with where I was going to go, bounce ideas off of. I used my coaching staff to do that. When I was an athlete, coaches helped me out where I was going to go. And so take advantage of those networks. And also, some of us might have some homeboys that also are in business already that you might take advantage of. You never know. Like if you have a friend who's the son of LeBron James, oh, I definitely would take advantage of that. But be that as it may, develop your network to fit your goals that you've experienced throughout the college. I have a chat question here. It's from Julio. Is there any sectors that you see will take off in the near future? And we've talked about a little bit about that already, the medical industry. But are there any other sectors, Paul, that you see that might be taking off in the next year or so?
Yes, if I could put that on hold just for a moment, I did want to add something that Professor Hasse was saying about the network, about LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, there's a group called University of Laverne Alumni Community. Mm-hmm. Now, you do have to be a graduate to join, so you'll have to wait until June, because when you click to join, they actually check back with the registrar to make sure that you are an alum of University of Laverne. But that's a great group to join. As Professor Hasse mentioned, Laverne alumni tend to like to help Laverne alumni. And that's just one of the ways to connect with people who are mid-level or senior level managers that could potentially help you with your careers. Getting to the sectors that will be taking off, or that I think will be taking off, in addition to healthcare. Let me get my crystal ball.
Really? Get the dartboard out, throw that dart at it.
Yeah, it's really, especially now, it's kind of hard to say.
I would think one industry, and now this will be probably more appealing to our biology, chemistry, life science majors, but also they're going to need business people to manage their business, is the biotech companies.
Yeah,
Development of drugs, vaccines, that is going to be huge in the next few years. High demand. There's a possibility by next year we're going to need 600 million vaccination doses of the coronavirus. 600 million. Now they make roughly 4 million a year. That's going to just expand. A lot of new companies are going to be starting up. They're going to need scientists, but also they're going to need business people. They're going to need people to advertise,
Yep.
to account, to manage the finances. So the biotech field is something that you want to keep an eye on and maybe scout out a little bit of that industry, because there's going to be a lot of growth in that area. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah. And then one that just came to mind, data analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever area, whether it's in finance or healthcare, that's a great area to get into. That's one that I think once things get back, that'll continue to just grow and grow.
Exactly. I think, and the students have heard me say this before, you have to have the mindset that your future career, your future job could be with a company that has yet to be invented, has yet to be developed, it's in somebody's startup mind, or is in somebody's garage, like Apple Computer in the early 1980s. There's many companies out there that are going to bust open and they haven't even started yet. And that's the mindset you have to have, is to get hooked up with that type of organization, then you're off and running. Don't you think so, Paul?
Yep.
Okay, good. Any other questions or last minute points? Good questions, guys. Anything else? You guys are too boring. I don't know about this.
I have a random question.
Yes, Chris.
So this is mostly speculation, but for a lack of better words, wouldn't it be a bad idea to get a master's degree right now? When companies are working on stricter budgets in order to maintain themselves, because I'm assuming hiring someone with a master's degree is more expensive than hiring someone with just an undergraduate degree. This is, like I said, it's just speculation.
That's a good point, Chris. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, it is a good point. My feeling is sort of more education and more knowledge is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If companies are really looking to that extent to cut budget and cut corners, if they're paying X amount for a position, they would still probably rather have somebody who has more knowledge in that position as opposed to somebody who has less knowledge in that position. If you know what I mean, that there's still a budget to pay X amount for somebody. So you have people with master's or bachelor's degrees applying for the same position. You'll still have an advantage with a master's because you have that additional knowledge.
Exactly right. It's kind of like, Chris, the answer to that is your glass half full or half empty? Because companies are going to pay top talent, mid-managers, upper managers, because why? They don't have to train them. They've already developed the skills of management, the skills of reasoning, the skills of presentation in a graduate and an undergraduate degree. So now you don't have to pay them to train. If you hire people and pay them a lower salary who don't have much experience, you're going to have to train them more. You're going to have to put more effort into getting them into your company culture. That's expensive. So that's why, as Paul says, you can never have enough education. I mean, I'm just a dorky MBA, but I'm learning every day and growing, even at my age, about how to do things better. So people with experience, people with knowledge, people with that degree are in the long run way better off in the long run. Now, short term, yes. If I was a company today, I would not be paying an MBA graduate $100,000 to join my firm.
Right.
I'd be paying a Laverne graduate, maybe a business degree person, pay them $55,000, $60,000, and then I'll train them. But as business develops and business expands, as technology and the dealing with globalization occurs, you're going to need people, top talent, that have those skills of graduate degrees. Trust me. And so that's always going to be there. You just have to find, it's just like anything else. You have to find the right place, the right time, the right way of where you want to start and where you want to get into. Sometimes you have to take lower pay to get in on the ground door. Lucas, turn off your mic. Lucas, turn off your damn mic. Thank you. Thank you, Lucas. Good man. All right, so you have to find the right place and time to get into that market. That's why having skills and making your skills better each day. You guys all know this. How long ago did you ever hear about Zoom? I mean, when did you first hear about Zoom? 8 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? You didn't hear about Zoom last year. Zoom was a company last year.
Yeah.
But the particular time and circumstances of this economy right now, Zoom is now the new Amazon. Trust me. Everybody wants to get on Zoom. So that's how things change so quickly. And you can adapt to those changes in quickness in your career if you have education, if you have experience. But even starting out at the bottom line, getting paid $35,000, $40,000 a year, if you work hard, you'll go fast. You'll go up the food chain quickly. Having an additional degree makes you go up that food chain quicker. So I think that's the answer to that. But don't get yourself into borrowing money. No more debt. That's a no-no. Good question, Chris.
Thank you.
I think that's about it, unless anybody has anything last minute. This was a good discussion. I think it gave everybody a good idea where we stand. And there's a face right there. Paul is a good person to get information, where to go, review resume. Cover letters are very important. Not only cover letters that you put in the mail, but more now digital. How do you prepare digital work, digital resumes, digital cover letters, maybe even videos of yourself, videos doing something, a task, a business-related task. With YouTube, you can create all different kinds of things to put together a personal prospectus, a personal portfolio. And then when somebody says from a biotech lab, geez, we're starting to look at financial managers to run our business, boom, you throw that out to them and you're there. You're ready to start. They see your background. They see your skills. They see what you want to do. And so you get paid a little bit less because of the economy. You have a job. Now you can go and develop that job and develop that career because you had Professor Hasse in class. I'm telling you, what a skill to have. You have Paul as a resource. You have whatever. So these are things that you need to do. Carly, stay away from your brother and the USC education. The hell with them. Don't even ask him for any advice. Stay away from him, Carly. All right. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. One last chance at questions?
Yeah, I would just like to say again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. pboychuk@laverne.edu. My email is on the website as well under CBPM Career Services. There's you can fill out a form to schedule an appointment, but don't do that. Just email me directly. That's the quickest, easiest way for me to help you and provide you with assistance. So don't be shy about that. Utilize the resources that you have available to you. And once again, this career services doesn't end on June 1st after you graduate. We're always here available for you and looking forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. And people, just please know there's a lot of people here at the university, and not only your families, not only your own network, but there's a lot of people here that want to help you and be successful. Because if you're successful, we're going to be successful. Our reputation, our brand gets better by you going out in the world and becoming successful people and citizens. That's the important thing about this, and that's why we're here. Okay, thank you, Paul. Again, appreciate it. Thank you very much, Paul.
Glad
Thank
to do it.
All right, one last thing before we go. Again, here is our Blackboard site. And now if you go to examinations, you will see examination number 2 now being posted. There it is. Oh. Examination number 2 is now posted. There's 2 files. They both are the same file, just in different formats, a Word doc and a PDF. Download those. Post your file or files if you need additional. If some of you are thinking about doing Excel plus another file, please feel free. Post it by Sunday evening. If you need extra time, as I said earlier, please feel free to let me know. That is not a problem. But just make sure you're diligent enough to get the work done correctly and fully. Not short answers. Think about each question and answer it fully. So that's now posted to Blackboard. You can begin your work. And if nobody else has any questions or any concerns, I want to thank you all. Another good week. I know this is getting be a kind of a tireless routine here that we're getting into, but I hope you're getting something out of this. You guys be safe and well. It's supposed to be in the 90s this weekend. Good God, what the hell are we going to do? It's supposed to be very warm this weekend. Stay off the friggin' beach. Don't go to the beach. All right, if you got to run around your driveway, run around your parking lot. All right, don't go to the beach. You can't. I'm going to be climbing the walls. I want to go play golf. I'm not going to play golf. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on Monday. Any questions? Give me a holler. Be well. Adios.
Thanks, Hashi. Appreciate it.
Hashi.
Yes, sir. Jake, nice hair.
Thanks, Hashi.
Hi, Hashi.
See you, Devin. Chris, I need to get a donut one of these days from you. All right, guys. Julian, I recorded this session. You came on a little late, but you can go to the recording and see what you missed. Okay, buddy?